everyone, and welcome to episode 54 of the Knitty Heather podcast. My name is Heather, and I'm coming to you from Kent, Washington, up here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. This is my podcast where I talk about everything I am working on. I have a lot of knitting projects on the needles, but I also do a little bit of crochet. And I always love to talk about the yarn and patterns I'm working on and all of the beautiful accessories made by wonderful makers that add to the beauty of our fiber community. If you are a new viewer, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me and I hope you enjoy yourself. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, I am at Knitty Heather and I would love to connect with you there. All of the yarn and patterns and accessories I talk about will be listed and linked in the description box below. It has been about a month since I last talked to you, and it's been even longer since I've done a full regular podcast, so I'm looking forward to telling you all about what's going on in my little fiber world. Today is Saturday, January 21st, 2023, my first episode of 2023, and I have a lot to tell you about, so let's get started. Today I am wearing my Round and Round Cowl by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. This is one of her beautiful cowl patterns that is especially good for minis or an advent. I did this with the 2020 Hue Loco Fade Advent, and I used all 24 colors that were in that advent. It's sort of in the same series as her Heel Toe Do-Si Do socks and her Swing Your Partner mitts. And so it's kind of got the same stitch pattern and motif. I did follow her directions that she gives in the pattern for using 24 colors. You can really use as many minis as you want, or whatever combination of colors you want. It just really looks good with lots of different stripes. If you want a very useful, very wearable, very warm and comfortable cowl, I definitely recommend the Round and Round Cowl by Kay Litton. It's one of those that would be super fun to knit a million different ways, and each version that you would ever do would be totally different depending on if you are using more variegated yarn like this or solid, how thick or thin you make the stripes. It's really a very versatile and fun pattern. This is the Round and Round Cowl by Kay Litton, knit up in the 2020 Fade Advent by Hue Loco. Next, I'd like to tell you about a little bit of happy mail and acquisitions. I actually have a whole pile on my table right here of things that I've accumulated almost for a whole entire year. And I just haven't been very good about including these in my episodes. So I'm gonna slowly but surely go through and tell you about these new yarn acquisitions, even though they're not super recent anymore. I've been a little sporadic about what yarn I've decided to share or not, but I do want to give everybody a chance to see all this beautiful yarn. And so today I'd like to show you a mystery mini skein pack from Crystal Skies Hand Dyed on Etsy. I subscribed to this club for quite a while, and this was the last installment I received all the way back in April, but I did want to show you. This is inspired by the colorway Olive Brown. And some of the skeins have a little more of it, some have a little less, but they all definitely do have that olive brown. This is a pack of 5 20-gram minis that she takes a color inspiration and kind of goes from there. I do have quite a few of these stacked up, and what I'm doing is I am adding them to a granny striped blanket. They look really beautiful together, and there's just a tinge of a little bit of a cohesive color through each section, which I think looks really cool. I will definitely have to show you guys my granny stripe in one of these future episodes. I have been making quite a bit of progress on it. But this is a pack of 5 20-gram minis from Donna of Crystal Skies Hand Dyed on Etsy. She always has lots of beautiful yarn in her shop and lots of different clubs and fun things. So definitely check out Crystal Skies Hand Dyed on Etsy. Next, I'd like to tell you about my finished objects. These are things that I finished toward the end of 2022, and they are all super beautiful. I cannot wait to share with you. The first is my December socks for the 8th annual Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock club. This is in the colorway Resolutions, inspired by the different colored post-it notes you might use to remind yourself about your New Year's resolutions. And I did these toe up with a gusset. I followed the toe up gusset pattern by Stacy Perry of Very Pink Knits. I did not pay much attention to trying to get them to match, but they kind of actually came pretty close anyway, even though I just finished the one sock and then picked up the yarn for the second sock. I didn't make these quite as tall as I normally do. I think I did about 40 rounds up the leg and then 10 rounds of 2x2 rib for the cuff. This has a shorter little heel flap and gusset, and then I started with a wedge toe. I did these one at a time on Addi Flexi Flips, and this is just such a beautiful colorway. I really love all of these bright colors and how they play with each other. This was the last pair of socks I completed for the 8th annual Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock club. So I will get a free exclusive skein of yarn that she dyed for everyone who completed 12 pairs of socks or completed the 12 months of her monthly sock club last year. So I really can't wait to see what that's gonna look like. I actually got a notification just earlier today that it has shipped and it's on its way. So I absolutely cannot wait to see what that's going to look like. I think I will knit that skein up in March probably. This is the toe up gusset pattern by Stacy Perry of Very Pink Knits, knit up in Resolutions by Desert Vista Dye Works. Next up is my last pair from the Cozy Knitter Yarn of the Month Club that I received. This was from December 2021, and it's the colorway Candy Cane Lane. I did a 3x1 pattern across the top of the foot and around the leg. I did these 2 at a time toe up. I started with a wedge toe, knit up the foot. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel for these. And then I continued the 3x1 rib all around the leg and did about 12 rounds of 2x2 rib for the cuff. This colorway is so beautiful and Christmassy, and I love the light green and light pink with the darker kind of corally red and darker green. I think that really looks wonderful together. This is one of many beautiful holiday self-striping skeins that she dyes up. And I love how these turned out. I don't know that I will probably wear them until next Christmas, but it will be wonderful to add these to my Christmas sock collection. This is a pair of 3x1 rib socks, knit 2 at a time, toe up, in the colorway Candy Cane Lane by the Cozy Knitter. My next pair of socks I would like to show you is my 2022 Advent socks from the Cozy Knitter. This is a 24 stripe Advent skein. I knit these 2 at a time toe up as well. And I like to do these toe ups so that I can get all 24 stripes in mine. I ordered mine with a mini, and it came with a beautiful cream mini that I used for a wedge toe. I knit 10 stripes up the foot, which ended up to be the perfect length for my foot. I did an afterthought heel, so I just continued using all the stripes up in a tube. I marked for an afterthought heel after the 10th stripe, and then I did that afterthought heel in the cream color. And then I knit up to the cuff where I did about 10 rounds of 2x2 rib for the cuff of these as well. They match up very nicely. I really love how they look. This is my 4th year knitting up this Advent skein. It's a little bit different every year with different color stripes in a different order, and they are always so much fun. It's the perfect amount of knitting every day during Advent in December to just knit one stripe and then look forward to knitting the next stripe the next day. One more quick look at all these beautiful colors. Advent striped socks have really become popular, and I absolutely love it. They are so much fun. I definitely recommend, if you love self-striping yarn, to check out some Advent skeins as they start to come out for this coming December 2023. This is a pair of vanilla socks knit 2 at a time, toe up with an afterthought heel in the 2022 Advent 24 stripe colorway from the Cozy Knitter. Next, I would like to tell you about another pair of Christmas socks I was able to finish last month. This is a pair of vanilla socks knit cuff down. I followed the vanilla socks on 9-inch circulars pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, and the colorway is called I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. I knit about 16 rounds of a 2x2 rib for the cuff, the slip stitch heel flap and gusset as she writes in the pattern, and then a rounded toe. I think this yarn just knit up so beautifully. I love all of the blue and green speckles on this light blue background. It is so gorgeous, and it's on her sparkle base. I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas by Clark and L on Etsy. It's so much fun to have another pair of socks on a sparkle base. I did these a little bit shorter. I think I only did about 20 rounds down the leg, but I kind of wanted another pair of just a little bit shorter socks, and I'm super pleased with how they turned out. This is the vanilla socks on 9-inch circulars by Kay Litton, knit up in I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas by Clark and L. My last pair of finished socks I have to show you is a share pair that I finally finished. I did a swap with my friend Helen Jo from the Love and Stitches membership, and I gave her this kind of pinky variegated Divas colorway by Yarn Cafe Creations, and she sent me this beautiful Cascade Heritage green. And then this beautiful pink, it was called Apple Blossom Pink, I believe, from Utopia on their Wisco sock base that I used for the toes. She was very generous giving me this extra little mini. I did just a cuff down vanilla sock on magic loop with switching the color every 2 rounds, so I didn't ever have to cut. I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And as you can see, I did kind of opposite cuffs and heels on each of the socks. I just thought that might make it kind of fun. And then I did do the same color for the toes in this beautiful pink. I love doing this style of sock. It's just a lot of fun having, I particularly like doing a solid and then a variegated or speckled together. I just think they really set each other off very nicely. And I have a couple ideas in mind of a next pair that I might do in this share pair style. This is a pair of vanilla socks knit cuff down with a slip stitch heel flap and gusset, knit up in a share pair style, switching colors every 2 rounds. Next, I'd like to tell you about a cowl I finished in December. I did this as an Advent project. It is the Simple Scrappy Cowl by Helen Stewart. She put this out at the end of 2022 before her Knit Vent collection came out. It is a very simple eyelet in the round cowl. This is exactly my style, as you can tell. And what I did is I knit this with an Advent swap that I exchanged with a friend from the Love and Stitches membership, Kat. As you can see, she did a beautiful job coming up with this gorgeous array of colors. I did these exactly in the order that she put them in. There were 25 minis, and I did 6 rounds in each color following the pattern, and it turned out so beautifully. This is lightly blocked to kind of open up the eyelets a little bit more. And I have plans for the rest of this yarn. Since it goes super well together, I thought I would make the Adventurous Wrap by Amba O'Brien with my leftovers. I think I have enough. I may just need to use 1 extra skein kind of in the middle. If you're not familiar with that pattern, I'll see if I can insert a picture here, but it is 2 triangles and then you seam them together with a 3-needle bind off, I think. And I just thought like all these cooler colors at the bottom would make a really cool triangle, and then these warmer colors that she started my little advent with would make another beautiful triangle, and they could kind of go together. I have a bunch of other sort of similar shawls on the needle, so I don't know if I will cast it on anytime soon, depending on how bad cast-on-itis I get, which I'm kind of overcoming a bad bout with that anyway. But I definitely do want to knit that shawl at some point with my leftovers from this advent, because I think it will turn out beautifully. I am absolutely 100%, I definitely want to do that. I just don't know when I will cast it on. One more quick look at all these beautiful colors. My last finished object is another advent project, but this one is from a 2021 advent. I finally finished this project. I cast it on, I believe, in August. So I haven't been working on it that long, but this is the River City wrap by Allison LaCicero, Freckles and Pearls. And I knit this with the 2021 Fade Advent by Suburban Stitcher Diane. Super talented. So it is a wrap style. This is on the bias, and it's got the same amount of stitches all the way through. Each stripe is an equal amount of knitting, which is my favorite type of scrappy advent project. It's got a beautiful lace motif. I did not block this yet, and I might lightly block it, but I love this beautiful lace. There you can see it really well in this lighter yarn. Just gorgeous. I absolutely love it, and I think I will probably wrap it around my shoulders just as I'm sitting reading or knitting in my knitting chair, and it'll just keep me nice and cozy warm. I think that will be the perfect use for it. And then of course I can wrap it around if I want to be fancy and actually wear it out. But I love having something like this just on my knitting chair or on the couch to curl up with when it's cold, especially right now in these winter months. If you are looking for a fun lace project that uses scraps, look no further than this River City wrap by Allison LaCicero. It was such a pleasure to knit, and I think it looks just beautiful in this gorgeous yarn from the Suburban Stitcher 2021 Advent. This is the River City wrap by Allison LaCicero of Freckles and Pearls, knit up in the 2021 Fade Advent by Suburban Stitcher. Now on to my works in progress. The first work in progress I have to show you is my January pair of socks for the 9th annual Desert Vista Dye Works Monthly Sock Club. I actually have half of it done. This is my first complete sock. And I have made really good progress on my second sock. The pattern I'm doing is called The Shallow by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. And this gorgeous colorway is called Convo Me, inspired by Sweethearts, the conversation hearts that you get at Valentine's. So as you can see, it has the stripes of each color of those little beautiful candy hearts, even the white with red speckles for the red writing on them usually. I am using my Addi Flexi Flips. I did 18 rounds of a 2x2 twisted rib. And then I like how this pattern is looking in self-striping. I'd be interested to do it in a more tonal as well, but I like just the different knit and purl bumps. It's a very simple knit and purl based texture. I'm doing it across the front of the sock, and then I'm leaving the back plain stockinette. I have marked for my afterthought heels, and here's the stitch that I'm going to actually snip to cut in my afterthought heel. This little cheesecake progress keeper is from Bluebird Miniatures on Etsy, and I have it housed in my knit fabric bag from Mrs. Brown's Bags. This drawstring style bag I really love, and I've got my Desert Vista Dye Works button on it. So I am planning on doing the 9th annual Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock club, and I'm very excited to have some more socks. I think I will give a few of them away this year after I knit them. I did give one pair from last year's collection to my sister-in-law because I really have so many self-striping socks, especially from Desert Vista Dye Works, but they're so much fun and I love them. So I am going to try to be a little bit more conscious of knitting for other people this year. So I have about 10 more rounds down the foot to do, and then I will do a rounded toe, and then cut in my afterthought heel, and then my January socks will be done in perfect timing to wear these in February for Valentine's Day. This is the Shallow pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, knit up in Convo Me by Desert Vista Dye Works. The next pair of socks I have to show you is another half finished object. Here is the first sock. This is the Times Square sock by Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat. Here's my first completed sock. I'm not very far on the second sock. I think I've only done one repeat of the pattern. This cinnamon roll stitch marker is from Sweet Cherry on Etsy. And I have this in my blue polka dot bag from Sandy by the lakeside with this cute tassel zipper pull that I love. So this is a kind of twisted stitch, kind of cabled looking pattern that is really fun. I did start with 15 rounds of a 2x2 rib. I did 4 rounds in this mini, and then I switched to the main color for the last 11 rounds. I did a German short row heel, just regular stockinette German short row heel, and then a rounded toe. The yarn I'm using is from Sweet Mountain Crafts. I think they are Sweet Mountain Crafts now. And here is the main color. It's called Winterberry sock set. So it comes with this beautiful tonal pink and this really fun mini. I'm doing this on 9-inch circulars. And I think I did 9 repeats down the leg, so I have 8 more to do down the leg before I do the German short row heel. I haven't done a German short row heel in a while, and it was actually kind of fun. So I was glad to throw that in the mix this time. This is a really beautiful pattern. It is from her New York collection. And I think this is the second time I have knit this up. I really love how it looks with a kind of solid, very tonal. I think that shows off the pattern really, really nicely. This is the Times Square socks by Mina Phillip, knit up in the Winterberry sock set colorway by Sweet Mountain Crafts. My next pair of socks is a pair of vanilla socks I am knitting for a friend. Yes, I am actually going to gift these. This is a vanilla sock knit cuff down using the Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. And I have it in this really pretty little project bag, perfect for socks, from the Scrappy Thread on Etsy. I'm knitting these for a friend to kind of surprise her, and I am doing the smaller size. I'm still doing my size 2 needles, which is what I normally do for my kind of thicker ankles and wider feet, but I did cast on the smaller number of stitches for the size small that she recommends. And so I think it's actually turning out really nicely. My friend definitely has tinier feet than I do, so I'm sure these will actually fit her quite nicely. I am just working on decreasing the gusset stitches. I did the slip stitch heel flap that she recommends. And this beautiful progress keeper is a teapot from Knitty Witch on Etsy. And I really love how this is knitting up. This colorway is from the January 2021 Yarnable box, and it's called Bougie New Year. Here's how it looks in the cake. And it's kind of knitting up really fun. We'll see how it looks as I continue down the foot. I only did 20 rounds down the leg. I did 15 rounds of 2x2 rib for the cuff. I thought she might like a little bit of a shorter sock. I'm using my Addi Turbo Sock Rockets for this magic loop. And it's just a very nice, relaxing knit. As a couple of the other socks I just was showing you are a pattern, so it is nice to have a vanilla sock thrown in as well. This is the Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, knit up in Bougie New Year by Hypnotic Yarn, part of her January 2021 Yarnable box. My last pair of socks I have to show you is another pair of Valentine's socks. I have it in my Lolo Did It yarn bag with a Wizard of Oz lining. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's got them in the poppy field for the lining. Super fun. I love this bag, and it's a really nice size for 2 balls of yarn, which I am using. This is a pair of 2 at a time toe-up socks in the colorway Tarts and Vickers from Mustache Yarn. I bought this actually a couple years ago, and I'm very happy to be finally knitting it up. I thought this Valentine's was the perfect time to do that. As you can see, I've knit the toes, but I'm not very far up the foot. I think I'm only about 15 rounds up the foot. This chocolate cake progress keeper is from one of the Yarnable boxes last year, and I believe it's from Susie J's on Etsy. Got a cute little strawberry with whipped cream on top. I love all these colors. I'm about to get into a white stripe, and then I think it will go back to this original pink stripe that I started with. This is what she calls a must match set. So the yarn was actually already split into 2 half skeins, and I just needed to wind them up and start them from the same spot. Makes it really easy. I am using my Knitter's Pride Dreams 40-inch circulars for 2 at a time. Toe up is my preference. And here's what the yarn looks like a little closer in the cake. I am looking forward to continuing to work on these. I don't know if I will get them done this month or if I will be working on them in February as well, but these are just kind of fun when I feel like working on them socks. I will try to have these done definitely by the end of February for a good February pair of socks, but we'll see when I finish them. I'm not putting any deadline for myself. I just am enjoying all these beautiful stripes. This is a pair of vanilla socks, knit 2 at a time, toe up. I will do a Fish Lips Kiss heel on these. Knit up in the colorway Tarts and Vickers by Mustache Yarn. My next work in progress is a hat. It is the Musselburgh by Isolde Teague. I am working on the first part of it. I have done all my increases, and now I am just knitting around and around and around in a big tube. This cake donut progress keeper is from Sweet Cherry on Etsy, and the yarn I'm using is also from Yarnable. It's called Born to Stand Out, and it was the June 2022 colorway. This was the last colorway I got in her fingering weight base. And so I thought it would be a beautiful Musselburgh, and I am very happy with how it's looking. I'm using 16-inch size 3 ChiaoGoo red lace needles. And I have a cute little paw print beginning of round stitch marker, I believe from Crystal Sky's hand dyed. And it is living in my retro Disney project bag from Bags by Awesome Granny. I love using this bag for hats. So I have many, many more inches to knit down. You kind of make a pickle or a football shape and then you shove the other part into itself so it's double thick. You start by increasing and then you decrease the same amount after you knit for a tube a long way. But I'm very happy with how it is looking so far. I did do the pinhole cast on. I needed to use a tutorial and I used the tutorial from Very Pink Knits. It's a very slow start to this hat, but once you get a few rounds in, it is smooth sailing from there. Much easier to see what you did. And I did cast on with double points. I know you can cast on with magic loop. And honestly, you can just cast on with the small number that she has you cast on and just kind of sew it together. Especially if you put the side that you start with on the inside of your finished hat. No one would ever know. But I did do a little bit of a fancier cast on and I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It's definitely not perfect, but this will probably be the side that goes on the inside of the finished hat. Hopefully I will be able to show you a lot more progress on this next time. This is the Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague, knit up in Born to Stand Out by Hypnotic Yarn from her June 2022 Yarnable box. Next, I'd like to tell you about another Advent cowl that I had been working on and am continuing to work on. This is my Winter Skies cowl by Jamie Lomax, who is Pacific Knit Co. And I am using a bunch of her Winter Skies and Holiday Doodle motifs. This Advent came with motifs that she designed and then beautiful DK yarn from West Coast Yarn Co. So it came with 2 full skeins of the DK yarn and then 6 minis, which were 20 grams each. And you really get to mix and match with the colors and the different stitch pattern motifs. I just finished this large snowflake and then a smaller row of snowflakes. This is a loop style that will eventually be seamed together, but she does also give you directions of how to do a regular cowl in the round. So you have a choice there. But I just had so much fun picking out all the different colors to do each motif with. I think I'm about halfway done. I may do a few more motifs now that I actually see how it's knitting up. But I love color work. This is just regular stranded color work. And I love the colors that they gave us in this Advent too from West Coast Yarn Co. Very sophisticated, very wintry. I think there's maybe a couple that I have not used yet, but I have planned out to use each of them relatively equally. These 2 colors were the full skeins, this darker Cowl and this light, it's called Star. So those are the colors I'm planning on using the most. But this has been a really fun opportunity to get some extra practice with color work and my first experience with kind of the doodle style that Jamie Lomax is famous for. She has an autumn doodle and a holiday doodle, and there might be others that I'm not aware of. So definitely check out Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. because it's super fun to design your own cowl using all of these beautiful different stitch patterns and color work motifs. This is the Winter Skies cowl by Jamie Lomax, Pacific Knit Co. Knit up in the beautiful DK base from West Coast Yarn Co. Okay, my friends, so this is where I've gotten into a little bit of cast-on-itis. I have 2 beautiful Advent wraps that I have cast on. Did I need to cast them both on? Absolutely not, but I just couldn't resist the temptation. This first wrap I'd like to tell you about is actually one I am knitting along with a couple friends from the 11 Stitches membership as part of the AMBA Advent Knit Along. And it is the Fizzalicious wrap by Amba O'Brien herself, the queen of different Advent wraps. This red velvet cake progress keeper is from Simply Serving on Etsy. And I have it in my Simpsons bag from Fate's Thread. Very fun. Here it is so far. They are panels of different garter ridges that you use a mini for. And then in between you have these beautiful flowery fizz stitches, she calls them, with a main color. Here it is all together. I just finished my 6th color. I am using my 2022 Vista Fade Advent from Hue Loco. So lots of beautiful earthy tones. And then for my main color, I picked Nerd String. It's their 7525 Superwash base in the colorway Labyrinth. I thought it was a very nice neutral to go between each of these colors. And it's such a blast to knit. The garter is very relaxing, and then you get just a little bit of thinking with these flowery fizz stitches, but they're not too complicated. You do have to kind of get in a rhythm and get used to them. And if you do ever knit this, my best advice to you for these fizzy rows is to just be really nice and loose. Otherwise it'll be hard to pull your stitches down your needles. Basically they are drop stitches that you wrap to give this really cool flowery effect. Again, I am such a sucker for beautiful stripy Advent with a different stripe of each mini type patterns. If you know of any more like this, please drop them in the comments below, because this is absolutely my favorite type of Advent knitting. And I feel like with 20 gram minis, they can take you pretty far with projects like this. Here's one more look. My friends that are knitting this, theirs each look so gorgeous as well. It's really fun to see how things like this knit up so differently with different colors. Absolutely love this. I am doing the yarn in order. So this was day 1 and I just finished day 6. And I'm about to do the stripe, the garter stripe for day 7. Stay tuned. I hope I can show you more progress on this next time. This is the Fizzalicious wrap by Amba O'Brien, knit up in the Vista Fade Advent from 2022 by Hue Loco, and Nerd String in the colorway Labyrinth. My last wrap I have to tell you about is the Lamina wrap by Amba O'Brien again. I have it in this beautiful butterfly bag by Southern, sewn by Sharon. And this was the one that I just could not wait to cast on. I got the idea in my head and I thought I just need to see if this is going to work out. And so far I am loving it. This is another one of her wraps that goes between a main color and different stripes of minis. In this case, the stripes are a beautiful lacy pattern and the main color has garter ridges. The yarn I am using, and this is what I'm so excited about because I think it's going to go together very perfectly. My main color is Shenanigans, which was the March 2022 Yarnable colorway by Hypnotic Yarn. So this beautiful kind of cream base with some very light colorful speckles. And for the minis, I am using the leftovers I have from her 2020 Advent. I loved this concept, A, because it's all Hypnotic Yarn on her plush sock base, but these were all such beautiful, colorful, bright, solid colors that I thought would make these stripes really pop with this main color. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Here is the color I am currently working on, this kind of beautiful blue. I was nervous that I wasn't going to have enough yarn for some of these stripes. So I did use a smaller needle size and I did cast on fewer stitches. I think I cast on like 3 repeats worth fewer stitches. but I'm perfectly happy. Once this blocks out, this will be perfectly wide enough for me. These were the first two colors I used in the original project I used for these minis, which was the Monet shawl by Rye Flower Knits. And like I said, these were the two colors I used the most of, and so I wanted to make sure I could get the stripes out of those. And I actually have enough left over to put a square of these in my cozy memory blanket, so that will be really nice too. I just didn't know how much I was actually going to need. But like I said, these I used the most of, and so now I know I can for sure do these stripes with the rest of this yarn because I have even more grams of each. One more quick look, and I just love how this Shenanigans colorway is looking with the garter stripes as well. This Rainbow Cake Progress Keeper is from Simply Serving on Etsy. And on this and my Fizzleicious, I am wrapping my tails as I go, kind of doing the weave and Steven. And so once I block this, all I'll need to do is snip these ends, and I won't actually need to weave in these ends. So that will be really nice, because with a pattern like this that's got so many stripes, there are a lot of ends to weave in, but I am trying to be good about weaving them in as I go this time. This is the Lamina Wrap by Amba O'Brien, knit up in Shenanigans by Hypnotic Yarn from her March 2022 Yarnable box, and minis from her 2020 Advent. My last work in progress to show you is one of the more exciting ones in my opinion, because I'm making such good progress on it. I have it in my cabled bag from Mrs. Brown's Bags, and it's my flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. I finished the body. I did a little bit of a split hem, as you can see, which I thought might fit nicely. I think I'm going to be happy with that. And I am currently working on the first sleeve. This pattern has a lovely garter ridge down the sleeves. That's kind of what makes it distinct. I am being extra meticulous about the rows. These white light bulb stitch markers are marking every 10 rounds. And then these red stitch markers are marking each decrease round. I was debating if I wanted to just knit the sleeve flat and then do a rapid decrease right at the wrist, but I think I will see how it goes. Since this really is my first sweater, I wanted to see how it would go if I did follow the decreases as recommended. And so I'm really trying to keep good track of what I do on this sleeve, of course, so that I can match it on this sleeve, which is just hanging out on waste yarn. I'm super happy with how it fits, and I just need to figure out how long I want the sleeve. Normally I like my sleeves about 3/4 length, and so I don't know that I'll do them super duper long. This is the project I have been working for 30 minutes every day for my 30 for 30. That is the challenge that we are doing in the Love and Stitches membership, and I know it's just kind of a popular challenge in general in the knitting world, where you pick a project and knit for 30 minutes for 30 straight days and see how much progress you can make. In my case, I've made a lot of progress. I knit probably the last few inches of the body and completely did the hem, plus all I've done on the sleeves so far this January. So I started January 1st, and I'm very pleased with how much progress I've made. I'd love to be able to finish this so that I can wear it this winter while the weather is still cold. The yarn I'm using is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the colorway Noble Heather. Just a very pretty green, foresty green kind of. This is the non-superwash, so it's a little bit rusticy. I think I probably will wear a t-shirt under it, just so that it's not quite as scratchy, but it's going to be super nice and warm. And I'm very pleased with how it's looking so far. I am doing my sleeve on a 12-inch ChiaoGoo circular needle, which is perfect. I may have to go to either double points or magic loop or purchase a 9-inch circular in the correct size to do the ribbing at the wrist. But we'll cross that bridge when I come to it. This is the Flax by Tin Can Knits. This is the worsted version, and I am using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the colorway Noble Heather. Whew, I know that was a lot of projects. I got a little carried away casting on a bunch of things toward the end of this past year and so far this year in 2023, but I am thoroughly enjoying everything I have on the needles. I think that's about all I have for you, which I know is plenty. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you watching. Please consider giving this video a like and subscribing. That would really mean so much to me. I really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback for the podcast, let me know. You are always welcome to leave me a comment below or message me on Instagram. I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I would love to hear from you. But until next time, be well, be kind, and happy knitting. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.